It's Tuesday wrestling, and you know what that means. So we got the debut of NXT on a Tuesday night, but we're also going to have Road to Dontaku Wrestling by New Japan Pro Wrestling. But don't forget, we got AEW Dark as well. No NWA for today, so let's get started with another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone. All things that it's pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I'm your host, J Rod here. So let's begin with New Japan Pro Wrestling with the continuation of Road to Dontaku Wrestling. Once again, we had the opening match for the Young Lions. This time, no, never mind. It's not the Young Lions. We got a six-man tag team match. Bit of the rivalry continue on. As you know, we got Suzuki-gun, Minoru Suzuki, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, and Despy taking on Gabriel Kidd and Roppongi 3K. Now, keep in mind, their story is this is being built up for the story where Roppongi 3K not too long ago beat Kanemaru and Despy for the IWGP Junior Tag titles, and now they're on the verge for a rematch to get those titles back. But this time, instead of having Yuya Uemura, they have Gabriel Kidd, who stepped in to join Roppongi 3K. But come on, you guys know how this ends. It always ends with Suzuki-gun because you got the fearless leader, the king of pro wrestling, Minoru Suzuki. And that's how that match ends, like that. But it was a good match, not to mention I did enjoy a lot of good spots. But of course, you know that they will be gunning for Yo with the injury. That's always been one of the stories being played out. Next match, we got once again the rivalry with the Dangerous Techers along with Doiki taking on the GOD and their Master Heater, Yado. Once again, playing these mind games. But it's a pretty interesting match because these guys really, really hate each other. If you guys didn't notice, I miss when they're having the golden fingers, but this time that's gonna be played out in a later event. But it's a lot of fun and did allow for God to pick up the victory. But however, the one person who is not a happy camper in this particular match is none other than Taichi. That's always been his game. He is not a happy camper. Next match, we got once again Bullet Club, Evil, Taichi, Yujiro, and Kenta taking on Hamna and the members of Chaos, who are also our never open weight six-man champions and six-man tag champions. At my mistake. As you know, this rivalry continues, and once again, you know, Kenta's still mocking Yoshihashi with the bow staff, and Yoshihashi is trying desperately to get it back, but Kenta doesn't want to. He's obsessed with it. He thinks that Yoshihashi, as you guys recall, he doesn't use it as a weapon. He just uses it as a prop. But hopefully Yoshihashi gets it back. But this time, as always, thanks to the wild tactics of Bullet Club, it did allow them to win the match. Next match, we got the other members of Bullet Club, or shall we say the seconds who are always around, the spoiler Dick Togo, and the blacksmith Ghetto taking on Hiroshi Tanahashi and Toru Yano. Now, you know when it's Yano involved, he likes to remove the safety of the turnbuckles. And it worked, but however, I think the match was overturned when the lights turned off. My first assumption was, of course, it was Evil. Because in the past, we normally see Dick Togo turn off the lights. and they've been in a bit of a rivalry with Toru Yano. And it did allow for Geto and Togo to win the match. Now, this is what's going on between Evil and Evil and Toru Yano. It appears that he wants to challenge him for the KOPW trophy, and he set up a stipulation. I'm not sure what it was, or he hasn't revealed it yet. But I'm kind of curious to see what's gonna happen. So this is gonna be a real fun match to see. Next match we got once again Lij, Bushi, Sanada, Shingo, and Naito taking on all of the members of the United Empire. We got Cobb, Anhare, Khan, and of course Osprey. Now, as you know, the first since the start of the tour, they did not start out great. They lost. Apparently, Will Ospreay is believing that he will defeat Shingo to get his hands on Okada, to prove once again to the doubters that he is the best in the world. And of course, that's always been the case. But of course, the one thing that ended is when Cobb put Bushi in the Tour of the Islands to pick up the victory. So this rivalry between Lij and the Empire is far, far from over. So we'll see what's going to happen in the upcoming events for Road to Dontaku Wrestling. But let's move on to which one was we doing? Oh yeah, we're doing AEW Dark right now. So I'll be right back. All right. So AEW Dark, they decided to keep this one a shorter one, up to over an hour and a half, which is okay because I know recently, if you guys know this or not, they do Dark and Elevation on the same day as um, Dynamite. I don't know how they do this, but it's way too much for them. So we'll see how that goes. But let's move on to the first opening match, which is SCU, Daniels and Kazarian, taking on these guys who've been on Elevation, Jay Lyons and Midas Black. I don't know who these guys are, but I can tell you right now that it was SCU that wins their match. You know, this is how it works out in Dark. Next match, we got Luther versus Matt Sydal. As you know, these guys have this thing with the third eye. Great concept. I did like that part. But of course, you cannot deny that Matt Sydal is an unbelievable wrestler with a great, unique way of winning with submission and high flying at the same time. So I love Matt Sydal, and he picks up the victory for this one. Next match, we got members of the Dark Order, 5 and 10, taking on Kurt Sackett, Kit Sackett and Hayden Blacken. But you know how this one plays out as well. You know that 10 is going to put someone in the lock, and that's exactly what he did. He continues to impress us. Not to mention their fearless leader, -1, is pleased just like his daddy is. Next match, we got the other members of Dark Order, Colt Cabana taking on Jake Manning. As you know, Colt, how he acts. Once in a while, he'd be a little funny, but he gets the job done as always. Next match, we got a women's tag team match. We got Red Velvet, Big Swole, along with Kaylin King, taking on the debut of Amber Nova and Queen Aminata. This was also another interesting match. I have to say, with Big Swole and Red Velvet, they are a very impressive tag team because as you know, I've always been a fan of tag teams with how they have synchronization, how they coexist. I say have these two be part of a team. I like that. But it did allow for Big Swole to pick up the victory for a team. But however, the night wasn't even over yet. As you know, for today, which is Wednesday right now, Jade gets to face Red Velvet, and she's not going to wait. So this intense rivalry is going to happen. As you know, both these women are undefeated in singles competition. But who will be the one to be undefeated in their undefeated streak? We'll just got to wait and see for that. Next up, we got Fuego del Sol taking on the member of the Factory, Aaron Solo. As you know, in this particular match, this was also a very interesting match because Aaron Solo has aligned himself with QT, joining the factory along with Anthony Gogo, Nick Comoroto, and QT Marshall. This shows a bit more of the aggressive size of Aaron Solo, which allowed him to win the match. Even though Fuego tried to put him in a tornado DDT, there was no luck there. So Aaron won this match. Next up, we got the Gun Club. Billy, Colton, and Austin taking on Andrew Palace, Stone Blackwell, and Mike Magnum. You guys can guess how this one ends as well. The Gun Club one. And of course, Billy still wants to give Aubrey Edwards a hug. And she doesn't like that. Next up, we got Maddie Rankowski taking on Colin King. This continues to impress me with Colin King with her abilities. I'm not 100% sure if she's signed or not, but hopefully down the line she could, because I know that recently we have been seeing certain people who've been helping out, coming out for Dark to show us what they got. But Colin King is one of those people who I would love to see. Perhaps also Maddie Rakowski. But Colin King is the one who I feel should be coming first. But this match also impressed me with her impressive victory. Next up, we got Matt Hardy against Ken Broadway. But this match had an unexpected watcher, or should I say, the TNT champion watches right there. Matt Hardy noticed that he can feel it. I can tell you right away that he beat Ken Broadway, but he did not end it with that. He decided to give a little message to Darby Allin, saying that he will beat him for that title. You know, Darby Allin, he's not afraid of anyone. He's fearless. He's relentless. And so is Matt Hardy. But the real question, does Matt Hardy still is the same person that we know? We got to wait and see on Dynamite. Excuse me. We got Dark Order members Stu Grayson, Evil Uno taking on Spencer Slade and Valerie Morales, and Negative One was there to support them, but the kid is out of his mind. But I can tell you the match ended with the fatality. I love it when they use video game reference, but that's how it ends. But Negative One was out of his mind. He was losing control, and Stu is trying to restrain him. So if you guys ever seen videos of Negative One on YouTube or anywhere, you know he's crazy like his dad. But it's what makes it fun. Next match, we got Britt Baker taking on Shauna Reed. I did a little research on Shauna Reed. It turns out she just recently graduated with the Rhodes Wrestling Academy, which is Dustin Rhodes a wrestling academy out of Austin, Texas. I have seen her before in a showcase event. It's pretty interesting, but I'm sure that Dustin is very proud of her being part of this. But you can guess the match ended with that jaw lock that normally Britt Baker does. And once again, the reason Britt Baker isn't appearing in Dark and Elevation is to raise up the ranks. She wants to reach to the top to get a chance for a shot of the AEW Women's World Title. As you know, Hikaru Shida will be keeping on out, but her opponent that she wants to face is currently the number one, and that is Tay Conti. So we'll see down the line how far she can go to get to number one. Next up, we got Team Taz, Brian Cage, and Ricky Starks. Now, I did against Carly Bravo and Dean Allington. Now, this entire match, I can tell you that Team Taz won, but what I liked is in the entire match while this was happening is how Excalibur was not questioning. He's asking Team Taz, okay, I understand you don't want to talk about Ascension, that you guys are all good, but what was that all about, you and Christian? Like, do you think he will take the opportunity? But he also said that he's been noticing that Ricky Starks has been stirring things up. Now, I don't know what that means, but we'll see what happens. So that's what I have noticed. Like, you can forget about the match, what's happening with Team Taz's Cage and Starks against Bravo and Alexander. It's the commentary that kind of makes it more simpler, that explains what's going on with Team Taz. Is Team Taz going to gain a new member? Well, we'll see about that. Now, this next match was supposed to be Nyla Rose versus Layla Gray, but Vicky comes out not happy with Justin Roberts. So Nyla Rose's personal announcer, but as you can guess, Nyla Rose won her match against Layla Gray. But however, this clearly sends a message to Hikaru Shida, who definitely wants to get another crack of the title once again. We'll see that, but I'm sure down without a shadow of a doubt, that Hikaru Shida is paying attention. Next match, we got the Varsity Blondes taking on Willa Day and Prince Kai. In this match, you can tell that Day and Kai are not in cohesive. They're not acting as a team. But this allowed for Varsity Blondes to win the match. That's what I like about tag teams. You have to be more cooperative and cohesive, and that's what made the Blondes a very impressive a tag team in AEW. Next match, we got Lance Archer taking on Cole Carter. This time, I like in this match how they're talking about that whole thing with Sting, how he motivated him. And I'm sure Taz, who has his fair deals with Sting and recently, he's trying to understand that too. Like, why didn't he do anything? Just motivate him. Now, I did mention it wouldn't surprise me if Archer decides to side with Sting. That is one of those things that kind of gets me like, okay, I would like to see that. But of course, Archer wins his match with the blackout, and of course, everybody dies. The next match, we got Ryan Meneth taking on Dark Order's Alex Reynolds. And Johnny Hungy, he's in commentary and he's enjoying this. As you know, it's always going to be the Dark Order because they are the fan favorite. And of course, this allowed for Alex Reynolds to showcase more as a singles competitor while his tag team partner, Silver, is recovering from injury. So it was I like the ending, how it goes, leaving the Alex Reynolds the win for the Dark Order. So we'll see what's gonna happen down the line with Dark Order. I can't wait to see what else they're gonna do. But this is going to be a very fun thing to happen. So next up, we got NXT, and it's coming up right about now. Okay, so we got the debut on a Tuesday night on NXT. It started out with Karrion Kross. As you know, last week he became the new NXT champion after defeating Finn Balor in NXT Takeover Stand and Deliver. Now, this was a very interesting promo. As you know, in the past, I mentioned Kross has never lost the title. He had to relinquish it due to an injury. And he told everybody this was going to happen. And no one believed him, but he actually did. But however, this victory doesn't mean that he is happy. He is daring everyone in the locker room. Anybody who has the guts to face him to step forward. But he also put the entire locker room on notice. So we'll see who will be the lucky recipient, the challenge Karrion Kross. Now, the opening match was the NXT Tag Team Championship matchup between MSK taking on Killian Dane and Drake Maverick. Now, you can say in this particular match that, that there was a chance that MSK could retain it because there's more to what's going on with Killian Dane and Drake Maverick. You would have assumed that they had no chance due to Killian Dane's size. He's a huge dude. You look at Carter and Lee, actually two of the fastest but also athletic individuals in the tag team division. But it did help them to win the match when they applied the pin on the Drake Maverick, allowing them to retain the titles. Now, however, during this loss, Killian Dane looked around and saw someone from the Insanity years. I'm talking about Alexander Wolf. And all of a sudden, here comes the other members of Imperium, Eichner and Bartel, assaulting Killian Dane. Now, this is something that now is started becoming more clear. As you know, the Imperium are planning to expand. Now, some of you are saying, is Walter coming to NXT? Well, Triple H did state it in an article that he would love to have Walter come by on both brands, because if you guys know this or not, Walter has no intentions to move from his home country to the States. He already made that perfectly clear. But Triple H said he would love to have him around on both brands. So basically, we may see not only Imperium expand on both brands. I have that prediction that they will expand all the way to hopefully what becomes NXT India. Next thing we see, as you know, Robert Stone is heading to the office along with Aaliyah and the camera crew, on the verge to talk to Theodore Long to have not only for have Aaliyah and Jessie Kamea a chance for a chance shot of the NXT Women's Tag Team titles, but however, that was interrupted with the appearance of Mercedes Martinez. As you know, she owes her half of how much money that she paid her, and of course, Jessie Kamea shows up and stand up to her, saying that she would challenge her, and of course, she did. Now, you guys saw what happened at NXT Takeover with that crazy unsanctioned match that took place between O'Reilly and Cole. There was some footage they actually throw in where, okay, Cole is leaving on a stretcher. O'Reilly is like banged up from a huge battle he was in. They both take him to the hospital, but of course, you see Cole cussing out O'Reilly, saying this is not over, that he's a dead man and all that. I don't know how long this is going to go. But speaking of former members of Undisputed Era, we do see Roderick Strong coming with his wife. Don't know what is happening, but he did say he was done. Now we get to the match that was already set up. Mercedes Martinez versus Jessie Kamea. I have to say Jessie did have a lot of courage to stand up against Martinez, but she was nowhere near match as her. As soon as she won her match, she took her attention's eyes onto Robert Stone, demanding the money that she owed her. So, he did. But that's not the end of it. She goes up to the commentators, calling out Raquel Gonzalez. Now, keep in mind, before her alignment with Robert Stone, all she wanted was a chance for a shot of the NXT Women's title. So she was unable to do that with Io Shirai. Now that Raquel Gonzalez is the new NXT Women's Champion, she's now had her sight for that title. Now, as you know, that there's a eight-person tag team match between The Way versus the NXT Women's Tag Team Champions Bronson Reed and Dexter Lumis. There's a lot of much funny moments in this interview where you don't know what's going to happen, but Indy Hartwell has her little gaga eyes on Dexter Lumis. You don't know what to expect. I thought it was a little funny in the interview, but it was really fun. But I can't wait to see how this is going to play out. Now, the next match is the NXT Unified Cruiserweight Champion. As you know, Escobar has won the unification this past NXT TakeOver. He actually issued out a challenge to anybody. And the person to challenge was none other than Kushida. So he actually responded to the challenge, but I think Escobar made one big mistake. As you know, he always has Tweedledee and Tweedledum by his side. He told him to go back to the locker room. He said he got this, that he's a loser. I think, in my opinion, how this played out in story-wise, that Escobar was too cocky. But there's also the factor that Wade Barrett put out that I agreed. You got to remember, he was in a ladder match against Jordan Devlin. How do we know his body's 100%? We don't. And I like how that was playing out. But the way it ended was the biggest shocker. Kushida defeated Escobar when he rolled him up, had his legs like this, and counted 1, 2, 3, and allowing himself to become the new NXT Unified Cruiserweight Champion. And this put Escobar in a bad taste. Now, I can think a few things why he might have dropped the title. We have seen this type of thing before. Is is there a possibility that Escobar could be injured? We don't know until after this, after NXT, it could reveal it. But we don't know. We don't know if he's sustaining any injuries from NXT Takeover, because that is a factor we need to play out, because it needs to be revealed. Because if he did, it could be the reason why they dropped the title. Like, that's always been one of those scenarios that can be played. Now, as you know, ever since Ciampa and Thatcher got into that really impressive pit fight match, they gain respect for each other and they have formed a very formidable team. But however, Ciampa realized the job is not done yet. They are a formidable team because these guys have a different class of wrestling. And this time, it appears that they have their sights set on the NXT Tag Team title. So, MSK, I hope you watch, because you don't want to get messy with these two guys. These guys are the most dangerous tag team competitors you will ever face. And this is going to be a really interesting story and hopefully a build up. I would love to see that. Now, as you know, Kushida won the Cruiserweight title. There is one person, in the other hand, who may down the line wants a shot of the title, and I'm talking about the other former member of the Cruiserweight, Jordan Devlin. Now, however, it was revealed that Devlin is on his way back home to Ireland or the UK. So basically, he said that he will be back. There's no doubt that Jordan Devlin will be back, but hopefully Kushida will have that title that long until Jordan Devlin makes his return. Now, as you know, we have a new NXT Women's Champion. Of course, Raquel Gonzalez is happy. She has the support of not only her fans, but also Dakota Kai. But I kind of did not expect this. They were going to jump in right away with this individual. Frankie Monette made her NXT debut, not as a in-ring competitor, but to make her presence known along with her doggy, her Pomeranian. Now, as you know, Frankie Monette has now made her mark, saying she is now running the division. Now, Dakota Kai and Raquel don't know what to make of it. Like, they don't see it that way. They see, look, I got the title. I'm the one who runs it. But Frankie Monette doesn't care about that. But there is no doubt we can see her down the line for a shot of the NXT Women's title. As soon as she leaves after having these conversations, even throwing a little Spanish in it, here comes the former NXT Women's Champion and now the current Raw's Women's Champion, Rhea Ripley. Coming to the ring, as you know their history, they were once best friends, then enemies. And of course, they're happy for each other that they actually accomplished something. Rhea Ripley, now the Raw's Women's Champion, and Raquel is the NXT Women's Champion. But there is some alumni that made another appearance, and she recently won her title at the night one in SmackDown. And don't forget about Bianca Belair, the SmackDown Women's Champion. And as you know, all these women are the blueprint of NXT. That's what makes it happen. You see, you can say these women made an impressive time in NXT, as we can remember. And this is going to be an interesting going forward, all three women, what's going to happen. Now, as you know, Pete Dunne defeated Kushida in a match, proving that he is the best submission specialist in the world. But he even set out a challenge to anybody to prove him wrong. But I like to see who will be that lucky recipient. But however, he's not trying to prove that. He even stated he wants NXT Gold. But the real question, which one will he go first? Will he go first for the North American Championship or the NXT Championship? He still hasn't specified. But I would love to see that when it comes around. Now, it's already been announced that Saray will be in NXT, but her official in-ring debut will be following next week. I like how Regal has talked about it took time for him to get Saray from Japan all the way to here. She is like the fourth sensation of Japanese female wrestlers come in. We got Asuka, Kairi Sane, and Io Shirai, and now we got Saray. So this is going to be an interesting thing to see. Now, as I mentioned, Roderick Strong came around with his wife. Regal actually was talking to him. Roderick Strong made the decision to resign. Now, Regal praises Roderick Strong not because of all the crap he had to deal with him and the rest of the Undisputed Era. He was seeing that he's the bigger person than all of them. So, but he did stated that the door is still open for him whenever he wants to come back. So the real question is, will we see Roderick Strong back? I would love to see him come back better than he ever was before. A much better person, someone who has goals in mind, not being manipulated by Adam Cole, and of course, dealing with Kyle O'Reilly, who has his personal vendetta against Cole. There's no doubt we can see that happening. Next match, we have this rivalry between Leon Ruff and Isaiah Scott. Now, Scott initially started this feud because he was sick and tired of Leon Ruff getting all the opportunities. Now, this match was so intense, you would have assumed that Leon Ruff would have pulled off a miracle, but this time he didn't. Isaiah Scott did it. He was happy that he did. He says, "You're in my rear view mirror. It's over." But however, during an interview with Scott, Leon Ruff attacked him and he tells them, "You think this is over? It's not over until I say so." Even people who never seen Leon Ruff act this way before. Could have Scott wakened a monster in him? I don't know, because if you did, Scott, you got yourself in a big hot mess. So I like how they're going to go with this feud. I think Scott will try to avoid him, but I wouldn't be surprised if Regal decides to intervene to end the feud. Now we get to the 8-man mixed tag team match. We got The Way, Hartwell, LeRae, Theory, and Gargano taking on Dexter Lumis, Bronson Reed, and the NXT Women's Tag Team Champions, Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart. Now, this was a very interesting match. Now, you know Dexter Lumis, you don't talk to him, even the tag champs are trying to high five, like, okay. So they know when to leave him alone. But I think the best moment in this match, Indy Hartwell was about to kick Dexter Lumis when he had Johnny Gargano in the silence. But however, she threw herself on the ground and Dexter Lumis got distracted. Now, as you know, recently, Indy Hartwell has her goo little eyes, her little, "I'm in love." I thought it was a great moment. Now, the best part is as soon as that was happening, the match was still continuing, but also when Shotzi Blackheart asked Bronson Reed to pick her up and toss her to outside the ring. And I thought she was more crazy, but it was fun. But however, the romantic story doesn't end there. You see Indy Hartwell right in the edge of the apron. Dexter Lumis carries her and she has her arms around her and she does this. So basically you see Beth Phoenix like going all this and that. Oh, she got her man. I thought it was so funny. But the match didn't end like that. It ended with a great ending where Bronson Reed was on one corner. He had what's her name? Moon on his shoulder, her feet on his shoulders to do the eclipse on Austin Theory. And then here comes Bronson Reed, tried to do the tsunami, but was stopped by Gargano, but it didn't work. And then Candice LeRae was trying to lift him up, and here comes Chauncey Blackheart, put her on her shoulders and toss her down to Theory, but it did allow for Bronson Reed to pull a tsunami. And this allowed for the match. But one thing that made it fun at the end of this match is how the commentators, I forgot his name, saying this, well, you got Wade here thinking about tsunamis. You got Beth Phoenix here talking about commentating on a Cinderella story. I thought that was a great moment right there because it was really fun. It's true. You got one guy who loves tsunamis. Then you got this one who's talking a Cinderella story. I don't know what's fun, but I like this. I like how this match was. I think it's one of my favorite matches to enjoy a laugh or a great time. But I think that's it for now. So stay tuned for another video soon, maybe later on tonight. Where we're gonna see it's gonna be Wednesday wrestling or Wrestling Wednesday, however I want to call it, where we have AEW Dynamite have their show. But I might add in a few other things. I hope there isn't Major League Wrestling coming up. But I'll see you guys in the next DWZ channel. No, never mind. Hold on, let me do it again. On the next DWZ time, on the same DWZ channel, I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye. And have a nice day. Bang.